Take your clothes off.
Dispatch by Ad Hoc Studios is a choice-based strategy superhero game about managing and dispatching a team of superheroes to resolve crime. It's a game that was created in part by former Telltale game developers, you know, the guys behind The Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, and Tales from the Borderlands. The game follows our protagonist Robert Robertson, or Mecha Man, a superhero forced to retire after a battle with the supervillain Shroud left his suit destroyed beyond repair. Not long after announcing his retirement, he runs into the Blonde Blazer, a corporate superhero working for the SDN, or Superhero Dispatch Network. Blazer offers Robert a job working as a dispatcher in exchange for the offer to repair his Mecha Man suit. After reuniting with his old friend and former superhero Chase, who also happens to work at SDN, Robert finds himself placed in charge of Phoenix Team, a group of former supervillains turned heroes. Episode 1 opens with an answer to a question.
Obviously, I love him. He's my dad.
The scene fades into what you wouldn't be wrong for assuming was a therapy session. Robert appears to be leaning against a wall, hands in his pockets, face half obscured in shadow, answering probing questions about his feelings towards his recently deceased father, and clearly he's defensive. A voice answers back and they go back and forth until you're asked to make the first choice in the game.
How do you really feel about your father?
And it doesn't really matter how you choose to answer. The brilliant delivery by Aaron Paul says it all. It's complicated, but it's also then you start to notice blood coming out of Robert's nose, but it's trickling to the side. A dog comes into the scene and you realise he's on the floor. The therapist? He's really a villain, kidnapped by Robert for information. It was this moment that sold me completely on the game.
Are we outside?
Windy up here tonight.
The rest of the episode is just establishing the world. We meet the Blonde Blazer.
That guy I threw, he landed on the roof, right?
All good.
Phew.
Some of the Phoenix crew, and we get a little sense of a world not too dissimilar to our own, but with superpowers. And we also get a little bit of gameplay. It's a solid opening episode with great introduction to the world, its characters, and gameplay mechanics. The second episode is where things really get going. Is in this episode, you're sort of introduced, at least informally, to your band of misfits, the Phoenix Team. Think Suicide Squad, but less bombs and more cutter remarks and witty banter. I don't want to say too much about them, so I'll just list the characters as they really are better experienced by playing the game yourself. Sonar is a man-bat. Flambe controls the fire and the flame. Coupe is an assassin, Punch-Up has super strength, Malevola has a magic sword, Golem is sentient dirt, and Prism has light manipulation. You get a general sense of the team dynamic this episode, but the member you interact with the most, and the only member I didn't mention, is Invisigirl. She's a former thief who has the ability to become, well, invisible, for however long she can hold her breath. She also happens to be asthmatic, and she smokes, so there's that. She's the lone wolf type, abrasive and a little rough around the edges, but she seems to care more than she's willing to let on. While not part of the team, there's also Chase, a close friend of the Robertson family, a former superhero who used to work with Robert's dad, now fellow dispatcher at SDN. He's a take-no-BS kind of guy with wicked comebacks.
So I guess this means you're the one person I can't complain to about losing my suit.
You better not. I would resurrect and re-kill your fucking father in front of you if it meant being able to use my powers again.
Jesus, Chase.
Action set pieces in this game are QuickTime events. You can choose to set the scenes to either cinematic or interactive mode. Cinematic mode completes the QTs for you, but you don't see them on screen, so it's just like watching a cutscene. In interactive mode, actions like grabs, punches, and dodges are a series of button presses prompted on the screen. You'll need to hit them in time to succeed. I didn't like cinematic mode. It threw off the pace of the action. You could clearly see where QT was supposed to be implemented, and it just looks a little silly to me. Personally, I prefer interactive mode as it feels more engaging. Dispatch employs real-time strategy gameplay mechanics. It's all about selecting the right hero with the right skills for the job. In most cases, when you get a request, it will give phrases that indicate what skills are required to complete the request. Your job is understanding what your team can and can't do, which is why your team's stats and their personalities are important when selecting them for a job. In episode 1, this isn't much of an issue as the training level sets you up for success with an all-star team. You can still make mistakes, but it's much easier. Episode 2 is where the training wheels come off. Some characters work better together, some get bonuses working alone or position placement, depending on how many heroes are required for the job. It makes mixing and matching your squad, figuring out what characters synergize, interesting. Completing the job gives the heroes assigned experience points. When they level up, You can increase their stats to suit your team's needs and cover any weaknesses. There are also some hacking minigames that require you to navigate a series of nodes to reach the goal. Along the way, you'll need to input direction commands at bridges to unlock paths to activate switches to complete the hack. Some hacks might require codes to unlock the next part of the puzzle. You can find the codes on branching paths. A code might be split into several pieces and you'll need to remember the order of the code. If you've ever played a choice-based game like Dispatch, you know what you say and how you react in a situation is just as important as what you don't say and react to. Choices matter, and you'll need to be mindful that some actions can affect your perception to a member of the team or how the world at large sees you. Rub someone the wrong way or the right way, and you'll get that classic "they will remember that." Dialogue and action choices are usually heroic, something a bit snarky, or outright rude. But worry not, if you don't like a particular outcome, you can always go back and replay that section or level, but bear in mind that it will overwrite your progress. For example, if you were to go back to episode 1 and make a change, you'll have to carry on from that point. Some actions and dialogue choices are already having an effect on the narrative. It'll be interesting to see what the ramifications are as more chapters are released. The dialogue is sharp and witty, but not Marvel one-liner witty. Interactions between the characters feel genuine and grounded. There's tension and even a few heartfelt moments. In a cape story, that's really hard to do as a genre naturally lends itself towards being cheesy, which isn't a bad thing, but it's about striking balance, and it nails it so far. The game doesn't take itself too seriously either. The light-hearted moments add, but don't take away from the more emotional moments to make a pop culture reference. So far, the story is shaping up to be great, and I can't wait to see how things are going to progress over the remaining episodes. As for settings, there are some options to make things streamer-friendly, such as censoring nudity, profanity, and even a mode that replaces licensed music. Accessibility-wise, you have colorblind options, and you can adjust how subtitles appear. Episode 1 is a great introduction to our main character and the world. There are some nice character setups, and we get a well-thought-out introduction to our core gameplay mechanic. That said, it does feel a little short, and the pacing is rather quick, even if you make changes to your choices. I would have liked to have been a little bit more focused on Rabbit's state of mind in the aftermath of the fight with Shroud. Episode 2, on the other hand, is definitely longer and there's more chances to experiment with the story. You get a real feel for the gameplay this episode and more of the cast is introduced. I would have liked to have met the whole team so that we could hit the ground running in episode 3, but maybe that's just me being greedy. This episode has a definitive outcome that you can't avoid, which isn't uncommon in games like this. I just hope going forward there's going to be a greater selection of choices you can make. Dispatch is a game that feels like it's trying to tell a superhero story, not using the genre as a prop. There's so much care and detail gone into the world, every choice feels intentional. It blends plastic corporate workplace norms into a story about superheroes effortlessly. Its characters are endearing and likable, and I'm interested to know more about them as the weeks progress. I'm not going to give the episodes individual scores as I prefer to score the project as a whole, but I will say based off the first 2 episodes alone, I would say it's definitely worth the investment to see how this all plays out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.